Okay, so today we're actually using these sequences and the formulas that I taught you yesterday to actually solve much tougher problems. But I noticed that we don't have any review built in here, so I'm going to do one. Reviewing yesterday, let's say that you had 2, add 3, 5, add 3, 8, ... Can you tell that's arithmetic? It's just adding 3 each time? Okay, then you should be able to use the right formula. And I know some of you are going to remember it, and some of you aren't, to figure out what the 12th term is. That would be like, what's a sub 12? Okay, and I hope you remember that you start with the a, which is the first term, and then it's n minus 1, and who can remember how it ends? Yes, sir. Times d is correct. D is the common difference. All right, go ahead and do that. Just use your big brain to figure out what the 12th term would be. Please check with the kid next to you when you're done. Wait till they're done. Pausing. So tell me how you do this. There we go. So this is 33 plus 2, 35. Raise your hand if you had 35. Okay, awesome. Now, what if instead, this is basically today's lesson in a nutshell. What if instead I told you that the 12th term was 35, but I didn't tell you either. Well, maybe if I told you the 12th term was 35, then I could just put that right here, right at the very beginning, and say if I know that the 12th term is 35, then I could put it at the beginning, right there. I could put 35. Actually, I'd rather do it this way. I'm gonna show erasing this and then just putting in an equation where I say, I know it's 35, so I'd put it here. And let's say that there's 3 things that you got to know, right? A, and N, and D. And if I told you that it's the 12th term, then you could for sure put a 12 here. And either we could figure out what the common difference was, or we could figure out what the starting term was. So do you get, I wouldn't even have to tell you these two. I could tell you it starts with a 2, and that the 12th term would be 35. Do you get you could solve for the common difference then? Go ahead and do that. Use this equation. Solve for D. And I know, if you think about it, you already know what D is, but just show yourself that you could use this equation . Well, A is 2 plus 12 minus 1 is 11 times, oh, I don't know what the common difference is, so you put a D. And then you'd go 33 equals 11D, so D must equal 3. You see how you could figure out the common difference? All right, so let me give you an example like that. Let's say we have a starting term of 10. And the 5th term is 160. Can you figure out what the common difference is? Well, you got to know that same formula we just knew 2 seconds ago. Robbie, you got it on top of your head?
Yeah. 160 or A
Yep.
equals...
Let's just write the whole thing out here. N minus 1 times D. Okay, so now we're going to stick in the numbers like you were doing there. A sub N, what do I put for that?
160
Equals
10 plus 4D.
And the fifth term, so this is a 5. And then you're right, 5 minus 1 is 4. And then you go 160 minus 10 is 150 equals 4D. Divide both sides by 4. 150 divided by 4. I like to do this as 75 times 2 over 2 times 2. What did I just do there? I factored the top and I factored the bottom, because if you can factor it, you should. And that cancels, and I got 75 halves, half of 75. So the common difference was half of 75, which is what, 37.5, I think. All right. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Now let's do the same exact problem, but I'm going to say it's geometric. Same exact problem, but it's geometric. So we're going to need somebody smart who remembers that geometric formula. Anybody? It's got an R in it, and it starts with A. You got it? A times R to the n minus 1. Nice. And remember, we want both sides of the equation. So this is what at the very beginning? Do you remember? Something, something. A sub n. Yep. All right. So we put an A sub n here. Why do we need that? Because we need somewhere to put the 160. 160 goes in the A sub n. Equals A, well, the starting term is 10, times R, I don't know R. All right, it's kind of the point. To the n, fifth term, 5 minus 1. 160 equals 10 times R to the fourth. So I'm dividing both sides by 10 first. I hope you would have known that. And then this is 160 divided by 10 is 16 equals R to the fourth. You can do to the power of 1/4. I don't know if you remember doing that, but power of 1/4. And then that's the fourth root. It's like I just took the fourth root on both sides. And at least 3/4 of you are going to get this wrong right now. Try to figure out what could be the weird catch. I'm going to give it a little more time. Because I'll even say this. I think most of you think the answer is 2 and you're wrong. Seems like 2's right. Anybody have any ideas what's going on? Alec? It's plus and minus 2. Do you get, you could be multiplying by a negative. 10 times negative 2 would be negative 20, times negative 2 would be positive 40, times negative 2 would be negative 80, times negative 2 would be positive 160. It still comes out positive. So it could be plus or minus. And that's because you just took a fourth root. When the root is even, you got to remember it's plus and minus. Because technically what you have is the absolute value of R. And the absolute value of R breaks into two things. Could be 2, could be negative 2. So there's two different rates. 2 or negative 2. That'd be easy to forget, wouldn't it? Okay. Let's look at this problem together. The 40th term of the sequence is 3. And the 79th term is negative 14. Well, I know there's a negative involved. Oh, wait. No, I don't. It's a common difference. I thought this was a multiply by. If it was going to multiply by something and it was going to turn negative, there had to be a negative involved. But this is not a multiply by. This is an arithmetic. Because they use this term, common difference. That tells me it's arithmetic. So always just start with the formula then. Patrick, can you tell me that formula? A sub n.
A sub n equals A plus n minus 1 times t.
Correct, sir. Okay. Jack, tell me what to do. Sorry, different Jack. I was looking at that one.
Then plug in 79 for n.
79. A sub n, I think you mean?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Oh, my bad. Okay, at the very beginning, I was looking for a sub n, and you weren't wrong, but you weren't starting at the beginning. What's a sub n? Do we know?
Negative.
It is negative 14.
I was just saying like A sub 79.
Yeah, we'll get there. And a is 3 plus n is 79. There we go. There's our n. And times d. What's the common difference? So we don't know. So we put d. To get from here, it's really easy to solve. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. I'd have negative 17 equals 79 minus 1 is 78 times d. And you divide both sides by 78. Easy peasy. That's an ugly common difference, but that's what it is. Yes?
How do we know that the original value was 30?
Oh, wait a minute. I was assuming the first one was 3. Dang, I'm totally wrong. I thought the first one was 3 on this problem. This is a really hard one. The 40th term is 3, and the 79th term is negative 14. Ooh, okay. Well then, it's almost like I'm going to have 2 equations. This wasn't a wrong equation, except that I assumed I knew A. So sorry about that. I just blew past that. Okay, so if A isn't 3, then I have to replace this with an A. And you might be like, but you can't solve it then because you got A and D in the equation. Kind of true. If you have 2 variables, you need 2 equations. Okay, so now we got to write the other equation. And that's the whole 40th term is 3. So let's write an equation for that. I'm going to write the base equation here. Always come back to that. And then I'm going to stick numbers underneath that. The 40th term is 3, so I put 3 equals, I don't know what the starter one was. N was 40. And now I've got 2 equations. And this red one, negative 14. And this system of equations of these 2 together, you just would use substitution and put one into the other and solve, and then you could find A and D. Now, if that's too hard for you, I guess we can go a little further, but you're an honors pre-calc, so you're supposed to be able to solve things like this. I'm going to get this solved for A quick. I'm going to say A would be 3 minus 39D, and then I'm going to put that over in the other equation where the A is. I'm going to start using red so it shows up better right there. And then I'd have, bringing this equation down, negative 14 equals, instead of A, I put 3 minus 39D plus 78D. Do you get now? I have an equation with only D in it, and it's easy to solve for D. Okay, so when you have a problem today, you're going to write equations, and sometimes you're going to write 2 equations. That was a super intense one. All right. This is the first term, this is the second term, and this is the third term. They are in a geometric sequence. That tells you something. So let me give you a simpler one. This is a really good, powerful strategy. If I said 2, and then geometric would be times 3 is 6, times 3 is 18. Do you get, if they're geometric, that this divided by this is the same as this divided by that? So think I've given you enough. What are the two equations you could write then? Doge, can you do it? The one that's comparable to this black equation where I did 6 divided by 2 had to equal the other blue equation, 18 divided by 6. Look at our problem and what divided by what? Oscar, can you do this one?
Can you restate like what you're asking?
Sure. I was giving an example of when they're geometric, you can count on the fact that that black swoosh there is 6 divided by 2, which is 3, would be the same as 18 divided by 6.
Yeah.
So what equations can I write now, knowing that about these guys?
You could do. Sorry.
That divided by that. Apparently just too hard of a question, I get it. But do you get that those two are the comparable two numbers?
Oh.
5K, keep going.
Is it like always going to be? Sorry, I lost it.
5K plus 4 divided by K plus 4. And no, the K plus 4s can't cancel. That wouldn't make sense. Would have to equal that divided by that. K plus 20 divided by 5K plus 4. Do you agree that's just one big equation that has a K in it? So therefore you could solve for K. And my advice would be to multiply by the denominators, because my number one thing this year has been clear fractions. Sorry, if you can factor it, you should. Number two thing has been clear fractions out. Whenever you have fractions, clear them out. So I think I would like to take a minute to solve this one. So everybody right now, multiply everything by K plus 4 first. To clear out the fraction on the left side. So why'd we do that? So that would cancel that. 5K plus 4 equals, the other side it doesn't all cancel, so I got to multiply this out. K squared plus 20K plus another 4K is 24K. And then 20 times 4 is 80. All over 5K plus 4. Now I'd have to multiply both sides by 5K plus 4. Because that'll make that cancel. That cancels that. And that's gross, but it's just a big quadratic. And in the end, you'd get it down to, if you can factor it, you should, and you'd be able to factor it. Not gonna lie, that's kind of intense. But you absolutely are gonna have to do something like that. And it's not that bad. You should know that if it's geometric, that this divided by this, I'm gonna do it in red here. This divided by this has to be the same as that divided by that. Okay. So far, you've got two formulas that you've been given, and there's another one coming tomorrow, another two formulas coming tomorrow, where it'll give you a formula for adding up all the numbers in a series. Like if I want to add up the first 10 numbers in the series. Okay, so there's formulas for just finding the nth term. That's what we've done so far. And then there's more formulas. We're going to work on those tomorrow. So you have all the formulas you need right now to be able to answer these. I strongly recommend that you try setting these up. And I'd like to make sure that you have some success on the first one by working with the kid next to you. Remember, there's an answer key posted if you get super stuck. You should not be looking at that until after you've checked with the kid next to you and gotten some help there. All right? And that's all I got for you for today.